Welcome back to a special retrospective. History is what these retrospectives are really all about, but sometimes there's history within the history. Our reporters occasionally tell a story about a structure or event from the past, and these help remind us of the people who came before and what they did to build this area to what it's become today. This part of the program is dedicated to those people in a segment called History in Retrospect.
The town of Vermilion took possession of the Cooper School from the County School Board in 1982. In exchange for the school, the town agreed to undertake improvements on the newly constructed Vermilion Elementary School. They also implemented a plan to recoup the money they would spend on the improvements.
An agreement was made with the county that the town would provide new school ground, and in our agreement with them, we would invest a certain amount of dollars into those new school grounds and in turn recover those costs by the subdivision and sale of the school property.
Attempts have been made before to sell the property, but they were never successful due to a lack of purchasers. This time, though, a private group went to the Vermilion Town Council with an offer to develop the site. After the offer to buy the school was made, a local group was set up to oppose the sale. They wanted to turn the school into a museum, but their initial proposal was rejected by the council because it may have meant an increase in the tax rate. To stop the demolition, the Historical Society will have to get their school declared a historical site. They're in the process of doing that, as well as trying to raise enough money to purchase the building and property. They need $45,000 and are almost halfway there.
At the moment, we were offered the building about a month or less than a month ago. And at the moment we have $22,000 in cash or reliable pledges. You know, a pledge from a service organization is as good as cash.
The society isn't unhappy with the price set by the town council for the property, and for their part, the Vermilion Council thinks the deal is at a sale price.
Council said that if they wanted the school and they'd sell them sufficient land, the price would be $45,000. That's a reduced price from what we'd normally sell land.
Not everyone is excited about the possibility of the Historical Society failing in their bid. Even the man that has the contract to tear down the building isn't happy with the prospect.
Yes, I say I felt like the executioner going to destroy a building that people really wanted, and we didn't want to take it down. It's a handsome building, and it's just ideally located.
Jack Earl has heard from area residents that they also think the building is worth saving.
It's built in '28, which makes it 60 years old, more or less. And it, as one of the local merchants in town said, it's important to save it. He's not a long-time resident of the town. He says they don't build buildings like that anymore. And it's a relatively unique building. It was the first 8-room building built, 8-room school, get my English straight again, built in Western Canada without a basement. So that the 8-room school, according to for old copies of the Vermilion Standard, cost about the same as a 6-room school with a standard basement and whatnot.
Local support for the preservation of the Cooper School seems to be growing. The Vermilion Historical Society still needs almost $20,000, however, so they've decided to try a new fundraising approach. They've written letters to the alumni of Cooper School in the hopes that the letters will trigger a rush of nostalgic memories that will bring in cash donations. This money must be in the hands of Vermilion Town Council by March 15th, or the Cooper School will undergo the Wrecker's Ball. David McGuinness, Broadcast Center News, Vermilion.
This is a rare sight. Vernon Shoquist only starts up his father's pride and joy a few times a year. His father, Oscar, built snowplanes like this every year during the 30s and 40s. They were used by the Air Force during the beginning of World War II, and people in this area used them to transport doctors and the RCMP. But this antique is the only one left.
This particular unit, he started that in the early 50s, as far as I can recall, and they called it his little roadster. The previous ones all had were all closed in and had accommodation for 4 people.
This was the last snowplane Oscar Shoquist built. When Vernon inherited it after his father passed away, he began restoring it. He's made small modifications to the skis. adding stainless steel so they slide better. He added lights and a new propeller. Other than that, it's all original. Vernon says he enjoys spending the time restoring his dad's dream.
Well, just to follow in my dad's footsteps. Someday I wouldn't mind starting one from scratch. I wouldn't mind doing it. But no, it's just a family tradition. I take my grandchildren out quite a bit.
Snowplanes like this have been in the Shoquist family for generations. Vernon's father built them for years to carry RCMP and doctors around the country during the winter. But now this little roadster exists as a reminder of the past and a part of Alberta's history. In Edgerton, Julie Matthews, NewsHour.
Bob Noyes Sr. is one Lloydminster resident who remembers that destruction. He and a friend were just returning from a fishing trip when they saw the fire from just outside town.
And a tremendous glow was in the air, like we didn't know what it was. And we got closer to Lloydminster. That was 20 miles away, kept getting brighter and brighter as we came along. And we got to the north edge of Lloydminster, and we could see the whole town was on fire. The fire went on from the start at about 10 o'clock, I believe, in the evening, and it was still burning when the light came, when it got bright in the morning.
However, not everyone was immediately aware of the situation.
I didn't know anything about it till I got up in the morning. I happened to have a cow with a bell on, and it was outside my bedroom window, and I got up to chase it away. And when I looked out the window, there was one mass of flames downtown.
The blaze ravaged a large part of the downtown, but for the most part was contained to the east side of Meridian Avenue. Because of a strong west wind blowing, the flames didn't affect buildings on that side of the street. It took the better part of a year to clean up and reconstruct downtown, but not everyone rebuilt.
There's two hotels there, Royal George and the Britannia, on that same street, just east of the post office. They both disappeared.
Although many people were affected negatively by the disaster, residents tried to look on the bright side as much as possible.
Actually, it was a good thing in lots of ways, because all the buildings in those days were just dry lumber, you know. And after that, built more fireproof.
Even though the brick buildings of today are more fireproof, most residents agree that the change caused by the fire could have happened in a more positive manner. Howard Alexander, Broadcast Center News.
Free land. That was the promise which brought people to Canada by the thousands, and Isaac Barr wanted to provide it. But as Emily Zeben from the Lloydminster Archives explains, the land wasn't exactly for free.
The stipulations were that you had to be male, over 18. They had to also break the 80 acres of that quarter section that they were going to get, and then at the end of the 3 years they would get title for the land.
In the early 1900s, England suffered from unemployment, and Reverend Lloyd promoted emigration to Canada. Lloyd and Barr joined forces to bring over a group of people who wanted to begin a new life. Barr had planned for 500 colonists, but ended up with over 2,000 people, and this caused problems along the way. Barr colonist Alice Rendell writes home and describes the travel conditions as horrendous. She says, "No sleeping accommodation, and as to the lavatory arrangements, they were simply a disgrace to civilization. Many a time we had felt famished with hunger, to say nothing of being starved with the cold." But despite difficulties, another colonist, William Hutchinson, managed to focus on the positive in his letters to his wife. He writes, "There are homesteads as far as the eye can see, and grain elevators. It is indeed a fine country and fulfills our expectations." After surviving harsh winter conditions, the colonists began building their houses and plowing their fields, but summer brought prairie fires which threatened and often destroyed their homes. In spite of all their hardships, their dedication reaped rewards. Alice Rendell writes of her feelings of accomplishments. Here, one feels that each week's work is a step onward, whilst in the old country, a year's hard toil brought disappointment.
They had community spirit, and everyone helped everyone. There was music and dances, and so even though they had all these hardships, they managed to get through it because they had each other.
For more information on the Barr colonists and their lives, you can go to the Lloydminster Archives or here at the Barr Colony Heritage Cultural Center. Tegan Wingfield, New Cap News.